Infection control. Decontamination is a big word. Under it has many levels. Cleaning and sanitizing is level 1. Disinfecting level 2. Sterilizing level 3. The lowest level is cleaning and sanitizing. With this level 1, germs are reduced about 85%. Disinfecting it reduced about 95.5%, and sterilizing will kill 100% of all germs. For disinfecting, we can only use on tools, environmental surfaces, or non-living surfaces. We cannot use on living cells, so we cannot disinfect our hands. Sterilizing is the same thing. We cannot use on living cells. So for our hands, before we begin on a customer, we only need to do level 1 of decontamination, which is cleaning or sanitizing. You can do both, but you don't have to use both. So you can use soap and water, or you can use sanitizer for your hand. Given that your hand is not visibly of dirt or dirty, then you can skip the water, soap and water, and you sanitize your hand. But if your hands are visibly dirty, then you have to wash your hand with soap and water. There are some people that like to do both. That is fine. You can do both, but it doesn't require. If you do want to clean and sanitize, then you sanitize after cleaning, because if you sanitize before, then when you go wash your hand, it wash away the chemical anyway. So it doesn't serve a purpose. So cleaning and sanitizing will reduce the number of germs on your hands. Or for tools, you go through 2 levels. You clean first the tools, and then you disinfect the tools. So tools, you can clean, scrub it with soap and water, rinse it, rinse away the soap, and then after that you put in the chemical, disinfectant chemical, so that it will kill the germs. Even though disinfecting kill 95.5% of the germs, it doesn't kill 100%. But for tools in salon, they say that is good enough to be used on another client. For sterilizing, you only use for special procedure, like for esthetician, they use lancet and needles to puncture deeper into the layer of skin. Then their tools need to be sterilized. Our nippers that trim skin, even if we cut someone, they consider that cut is not deep enough, so we don't need to sterilize our tools. We only need to clean and disinfect. We cannot use sanitizer to clean our tools, because with sanitizer you don't rinse the water. So let's say your tools are visibly of dirt and has cuticle and nails on it, but if you use sanitizer, it won't rinse away those stuff. So for tools, you clean with soap and water and disinfect. For tools that go into deeper layer of the skin, then you need to sterilize. But in nail salon or most hair salon, we don't need to sterilize the tool. It is not required. Only needles and lancet will be need to sterilize. Or in the hospital, they will need to sterilize their tools, their surgical tools. Okay. There are different agencies that regulate our industry: federal agency and state agency. Talking about federal agency, there are OSHA. OSHA is an administration about occupational safety and health. So if a lot of us should be familiar with it already. We heard about OSHA. This OSHA practice. OSHA practice are practice that you have to take to keep your work safety. So because OSHA is an administration that it will come down to the employer to check at least once a year to see if the employer has health and safety standards for employees. MSDS is a piece of paper that when you buy any chemical, you should ask for an MSDS or you should search it online. MSDS come from a manufacturer. It has information like hazardous ingredients. It tells you how to use that chemical safely, some of the precaution to reduce accidental harm or overexposure. If it is flammable, how should you dispose it? Emergency, how should you take care of it in the first place if accidentally ingest or something happen, how should you take care of it first before you're able to get to the emergency or get to the doctor office. So all chemical products that use in a salon need an MSDS or even shorter SDS. EPA is an agency that take care of different things. However, we just need to know that it register and approve disinfectants. It does many other things, but it doesn't relate it to all industry. Only it related is the disinfectant. So state board require us to use disinfectant that are only approved or have approved or registered by EPA. There are two major types two major levels of disinfectant, hospital and tuberculocidal. Tuberculocidal disinfectant are stronger than hospital. Hospital disinfectant can kill everything on surface in blood, but it cannot kill bacteria that cause tuberculosis. Tuberculocidal disinfectant can kill everything that hospital level can, plus bacteria that cause tuberculosis. Hospital disinfectant is just a name. It doesn't mean that it only used in the hospital, but it is because hospital use a lot of disinfectant. That's why they borrow the word hospital to name the level. State Board of Cosmetology, in short, we can say board because we are the same. We in the same industry. We don't have to say state board. We can say short as board, and we still know which board we're talking about. We always know we're talking about Board of Cosmetology because we are in the same industry. Laws are written by federal and state established guidelines for agency to make rules. Laws can also cause statutes. Rules are also called regulation. Is more specific than laws. It used the guidelines from laws to write the rules. So rules can be changed or updated frequently. For example, years ago, people used razor to remove calluses on the heels, but over time they found it not. There are many accidents happen, so they go back and they change the rules. They say we cannot use the razor anymore, but we can use the cheese grater to remove the calluses. So rules are more specific than laws. Principle of infection control. Disinfectant used in salon are bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal. Because in our environment there are bacteria, fungus, and virus. So on the disinfectant, they should have these three basic words. Infection is when your body gets sick from germs. That is infection. Let me erase it. Okay, so there are only three types of germs. There are bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Parasite is not a separate category. Parasite is just a word to describe when something dependent on another to live, then it's a parasite. All fungi are parasite, and all viruses are a type of parasite. Parasite is a type of organism that draws nourishment from another organism, but it doesn't help or giving anything in return. Whereas a relationship that has, you taking something, you giving back, that is not, that is like both side benefits. But parasite, only one side benefits. The virus and fungi only taking something away, but it doesn't give anything back. So it's a type of parasite. Disinfectant will have bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal are the basic. If it has the word tuberculocidal, then that is strong. When it has tuberculocidal, then it's stronger, and then that means it has all three of this: bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal as well. Tuberculocidal, if you ask what causes tuberculosis, is a bacteria that causes tuberculosis. So it's one type of bacteria that causes tuberculosis. So is part of bactericidal, but to make it to differentiate and let us know that it is a little bit stronger than is the word tuberculocidal. But there's no like a separate category for tubercle over here. Tuberculosis all belong to bacteria. Now professional, they cannot diagnose, determine. So now professional, however, is not a doctor or a practitioner, so they cannot do the work that the doctor does, which they cannot diagnose, they cannot determine disease, treat, or recommend treatments. Another word for bacteria or microbes or germs is a one-cell organism. Their whole body are only one cell. All body consists of trillions, millions of cells, but bacteria, their whole body has only one cell. It has some characteristics that look like animal and some that look like plant. So it has both. It can be harmful or harmless. In fact, like a lot of them are harmless. 80 or 90% of them are harmless. That's why we don't get sick easily. We only like get sick once or twice a year, or sometimes we don't even get sick, because most bacteria are harmless, and plus our body has immunity. So even there are harmful bacteria, our body has immunity that is strong enough to fight it, unless if some germs are very strong, like COVID germs, then that's when we get really sick, because our immunity are not strong enough to fight the COVID. A lot of us, I mean, people who get really sick are obviously their immunity are not strong enough to fight the COVID. So germs exist anywhere: in skin, in the air that we breathe, in the food that we eat, in the water that we drink, on our nails, on our clothing. Bacteria or germs are everywhere. When germs are harmful, we call it pathogenic. When it's not harmful, the term is non-pathogenic. There are some germs that are harmless or is even beneficial, like germs in yogurt and cheese. They are good germs. So not all germs are harmful. Bacteria will be divided into 3 categories based on the shape. When it's round, it's called cocci. When it's a rod shape, bacilli. And when it's spiral, it calls Barilla. The round shape even divide further into 3 types. When it's round and it's cluster, Staphylococci. When it's round and it's connect in like a string long lines, then it's Streptococci. When it connect in pairs, then it's called Diplococci. That is just their characteristic. That is the way they live. So if those who live strong by forming a cluster, they are Staphylococci. So we need to remember the shape of the bacteria, how it is arranged, what it is called, and the the disease that it causes. Like staph and strep can cause pus. Diplococci cause pneumonia. Strepcocci also cause blood poisoning or strep throat, and Staphylococcus can cause pus, and they form like a bunch of grapes. Bacilli are rod-shaped. There are many different types of bacilli. Some produce tetanus, some produce typhoid fever, some produce tuberculosis. It's the most common bacteria, so it is a common bacteria. It's found a lot everywhere. Spirilla is a corkscrew or spiral shape. It causes Lyme disease. Like, this is the name, but I guess we don't really need to remember the name, but we kind of should remember Spirilla cause like syphilis, STD, and Lyme disease. Talking about movement, these three bacteria types, Bacilli and Spirilla, can move by using the flagella or cilia on its body. Flagella and cilia is like a hair-like extension on its body that can help it move in water. Cocci don't really move. They only move from one place to another through air by us touching it and touching another place. So there are no movement in cocci. Life cycle bacteria are divided into two phases, active stage and inactive. When it is in a favorable condition, it will grow and reproduce. The best environment for it, or the favorable condition, is when the place is dirty, damp, dark, or warm. When that environment exists, then they grow and reproduce. Okay, so they reproduce by a process called mitosis or binary fission, where bacteria, they don't need another bacteria to help reproduce. Human do. We need an opposite sex to reproduce, but bacteria don't. They grow to a big size and then they split into halves. So bacteria, when the environment is good for them, when it's warm, dark, damp, or dirty, they grow and reproduce through the process called mitosis or binary fission. It is a process where they grow into a big size, and once they cannot get bigger anymore, they split into two, and they do that every about 20 to 60 minutes. So it can be very fast. 1 divided into 2 and 4, 4 into 16. And those new cells are called daughter cells. When the environment is not favorable, that's why we want to keep our living environment clean, has enough lighting, not damp, then bacteria will die. But some bacteria are smart. They will not die, then they will go into the stage called inactive or spore forming. So any bacteria that can produce spore, then they will not die right away in unfavorable condition. Rather, when they can form spore, then they kind of sleep inside that spore. Even disinfectant will not kill them. Okay, so when the environment is not favorable and they can reproduce and they can produce spore, then they can live longer. They live longer and they are waiting for a right condition so that they can go back into the active stage again. But if we continue to keep our place clean with lighting and not damp, then they will eventually die. Okay, so our tools will not be killed. Our tools have spores. It will not kill by disinfectants, but spores are only dangerous when it enter deep into our in the deep tissue. So it only dangerous when it go through the surgical procedure. So tools that are used in the hospital need to go to be sterilized. Tools in the nail salon or in cosmetology or hair salon, we don't need to sterilize. It say that it's enough, disinfectant is enough to get the tools clean for another client. So spore is okay. There are spore on the nipples. We cut someone bleed, but that cut is not deep enough for spore to make it dangerous for our body. So spore are only dangerous when it enter the body through surgical procedure and become active. They will are cut on the customer with the nipples will not be deep enough, so it will pose no dangers even if we cut someone. Okay, talking about infection, there are two types of infection: local infection and general infection. General infection is when it involves an infection in the blood. Local infection is for it just part of the body, is not in blood. So for example, a pimple or an abscess or a lesion. For general infection, right here I don't have the definition, but general infection is when your blood is infected, then that is general infection, because blood will travel all over the body, so that's why it's called general infection. MRSA is a type of skin infection that will develop in a weakened immunity. So for someone that is healthy and has MRSA on their cut, their body is still able to fight it. But for people like old people or people that are already sick or has low immunity or weakened immunity, MRSA will develop and is highly resistant to antibiotics. When you have MRSA, usually you end up in the hospital with IV antibiotics to treat it. Contagious disease defined as disease that can spread from one people or one person to another in any way, shape, or form. If it can spread, then it's contagious. Communicable contagious are also called communicable disease or transmissible disease. Okay, viruses, all virus or parasite, because virus is a particle that infects the cells of another organism. It cannot reproduce by itself where bacteria can. So bacteria is not necessarily a parasite, but all viruses are parasite because it only reproduces or replicates by taking over the whole cell reproduction. So when virus successfully incorporate themselves in another organism cell like a human cell, and when all cells reproduce, then that is how it reproduces. For example, when an HIV enters our body, first it cannot cause us sick yet because there's only one HIV in the body. But when the HIV successfully incorporate itself in our cells, when our cell reproduce, that HIV got reproduced, and over time when it got reproduced enough numbers, it will cause us sick. There are different viruses. There are HIV virus, there are viruses that cause common colds, there are other viruses that cause measles, mumps, chickenpox, smallpox. So we should kind of remember what kind of disease caused by virus. A parasite feeds off another organism. That organism that it feeds off from is a host. So viruses are smaller than bacteria. One difference between virus and bacteria is virus can live and reproduce only by penetrating other cells and become part of them, while bacteria can live and reproduce on their own. Viruses, when you infected a virus, you don't take antibiotics. You take antiviral meds, but not antibiotics. When doctor think that you have bacterial infection, then they will prescribe antibiotics like amoxicillin, penicillin, or ampicillin. Okay, page 4. Vaccination is to help prevent viruses from growing in disease has vaccination. So for we have flu vaccine, we have hepatitis B vaccine, we don't have HIV vaccine yet. Blood-borne pathogen or pathogen can be fungi, bacteria, or virus that live in the blood. Some of the example HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C virus live in blood. There are other germs that live in blood too, but we usually mention these three because these are serious disease that we haven't have a cure for it yet. We have medicine that slow down its growth to help us live longer if we are infected, but it doesn't cure us. So it is important that we understand that these disease are serious and we take time to clean and disinfect our tools appropriately so that when we cut someone, we don't if there are HIV and hepatitis B or C on that tools, it doesn't spread from one person to another if we take care of it the right way. Spread of blood-borne pathogen is possible when there is a cut, like through shaving, nipping, clipping, waxing, or anytime the skin is broken. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. HIV causes AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So AIDS is a syndrome or is a disease that breaks down the body immune system. Cutting living skin is outside the scope of our practice. Only surgeon can cut into living cells. Fungi is a microscopic plant parasite. It resembles more of plants. Molds, mildews, yeast are example of fungi. Contagious disease, ringworms is an example of a fungi type. FDA prohibits sales of antifungal products for nails without medical prescription. How pathogens enter the body? Through a cut, through a scratch, through your mouth, by your hands are not you don't wash your hand when you eat, through your nose when you inhale things. How the body prevent or control infection. By keeping our body healthy, our immunity will be strong. Keeping your skin not having a cut, or if there's a cut, then you want to put a bandage over it. Or through body secretion, like our digestive system or our stomach has very strong digestive juice where it kills lots of germs. That's why even lots of time we don't wash our hand good when we eat before we eat, but still we don't really get sick that easily. Okay, talking about parasite again. Parasite is not a separate category. It's just describing another organism. So any organism that grow, feed, or shelter on or in another organism while contribute nothing to the host, then that is a type of parasite. Parasite must have a host to survive. Scabies is an example of a parasite. It's caused by an itch mite that burrows under the skin. Parasite draw nourishment from another organism. Okay, what is immunity? It is the ability of your body destroy or resist infection or keep you fight infection. There are two types of immunity: natural immunity and acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is acquired immunity, you don't born with it. You only develop it or get it through vaccine. So let's say if you don't get a flu or a COVID vaccine, then you don't have you likely not having the immunity for that. So in theory, you get sick easier if you contact the germs. So, but if you get the vaccine, then you get an immunity for it. Let's say you get a flu vaccine or COVID vaccine. When you contract the germs, your body has that vaccination, it helps you fight the germs. And then acquired immunity also has memories. It will remember once it fight something once. For example, before with chickenpox, when we don't have the vaccine for chickenpox yet, people will contract it at least once in their life, but they only usually contract once and they won't get it again, even if they like, for example, they take care of someone with chickenpox, they still won't develop chickenpox because if they already had chickenpox before. So because our immunity has memory, when it fight a chickenpox, it will remember the chickenpox has 5 heads, 5 feet, 5 toes, or 5 hands. So it will remember the specifics about that germs. When that germs enter their body again, it will fight right away. So their body won't get sick. That virus or that chickenpox germs enter the body, it doesn't have a chance to make us sick. That's why people say if you had chickenpox before, you will never get chickenpox again. So immunity, acquired immunity, you don't naturally have it. You have to develop. After you fight a disease, you will develop. If you develop an immunity for it, then that is an acquired immunity. Natural immunity is you naturally have it. You don't really have to do much of anything. If your parents are relatively healthy and don't get sick easily, you inherit that too. You don't have to really do anything. You're just born with it. Or if you if you live a healthy lifestyle, if you exercise, you eat right, then your body immunity will be naturally be stronger or be higher. Okay, going back, talking about decontamination again. In salon, they only need us to clean and disinfect. They don't need us to sterilize. But for esthetician who use lancet or needles, they will need to clean and sterilize the tool. Sterilize by using the machine called autoclave. That autoclave they use heat and steam and pressure to kill. They don't use chemical. The machine use steam and pressure. So most salon only need to clean and disinfect tools. So first step of decontamination is cleaning. You need to remove all visible dirt and debris from tools with liquid soap and water. With the cleaning process, the number of contaminants on a surface is greatly reduced. So after cleaning, the number of contaminants on a surface is greatly reduced. Putting antiseptic on your hands or washing your hand is an example of cleaning or sanitation. Washing hand is part of cleaning, but if there's no cleaning as an answer, then you can choose sanitation. Because cleaning and sanitation are pretty much the same. If it needs to be differentiated in details, then sanitation use sanitizer and cleaning use soap and water. But in general, these two words pretty much the same. There are different ways to clean soap and water. Are you using an ultrasonic unit or using a cleaning solvent? Second step of decontamination is disinfectant, and we only use disinfectant for tools. We don't use disinfectant for our hands. Disinfectant is a process that kills most but not all, because disinfectant cannot kill spores. It's not effective against spore. Our tools still have spore on it. Even if we cut someone bleed, spore is not dangerous because that is a minor cut. It's not deep enough for spore to cause dangerous. And disinfectant only on non-living surface. We don't disinfect living cells like hands. Disinfectant is a chemical that destroys all bacteria, fungi, and viruses, but not spore. Not used on on human skin, hair, nails. All disinfectant clearly state on the label to avoid skin contact. All disinfectants will have an efficacy claims on the label, which means it will tell us which specific organism it can kill. And disinfectant is to say in short, but if you want to say in full, then it has to be either hospital level or tuberculosidal. It has to be EPE register. So is EPE register disinfectant is effective enough for salon use, or you can use bleach in place of disinfectants. With 10% of bleach solution, that is enough. It will be equivalent to the effectiveness of disinfectant. So when you mix bleach, you mix it 1:9 ratio, 1 cup of bleach to 9 cups of water, or you mix it according to manufacturer instruction, the instruction on the label or on the bottle. When disinfecting, we want complete immersion, which means every part of the tools has to be immersed in the disinfectant solution, including the handles. And when it's soaked, it needs to be soaked for at least 10 minutes. The entire implement need to be soaked. Before you put in the disinfectant, the tools need to be scrubbed with soap and water. Rinse off of soap and water. So before you put in disinfectant, the tool should be clean already. Tool should be hard. If it's porous, or if it can absorb water, then it's a single-use items. And we will talk about which item is a one-time use and which item can be clean and disinfect. But for tools that can be disinfected, usually is hard, non-porous. So most abrasive like file and buffers are one-time use. It cannot be disinfected unless it is made of metal, glass, or ceramic. You mix disinfectant according to the manufacturer instructions. So depending on how dilute or how concentrated your disinfectant is. If you bought a diluted disinfectant, then you cannot put in a lot of water. But anyway, however you need to mix, you mix it according to the instruction of the manufacturer. And 10 minutes of contact time. For any type of disinfectant, you only need to soak it 10 minutes. You can soak it longer, but not shorter. But if you soak it longer than 10 minutes, your tools will get dull or rusted easily. Quartz and bleach are another commonly or properly used in salon. Quartz is in short for quaternary ammonium compound. Is another type of disinfectant that is very effective and common use. Phenolic is a tuberculosidal type of disinfectant, very powerful one. It has very high pH that can cause damage to skin and eyes, so it's not popular for salon use. There are other tuberculosidal disinfectants that are as powerful but not as damaging to skin and eyes if it accidentally gets splashed. So phenolic is not a popular choice. Bleach is a chemical term for bleach is sodium hypochlorite. And when you buy bleach in store, make sure that is 5.25% of bleach concentrated. All disinfectant are to mix daily and not to store. The longest is 24 hours. So if inspector come in and they look at the disinfectant solution, if it's visibly dirty of dirt or nails or skin, they can still find us. We cannot say that, oh, it's not 24 hours yet. Disinfectant or bleach has to be renewed or has to be changed once a day or whenever it's dirty, then you have to change right away, not counting the 24 hours. There are some stuff that we have to keep in the record book. In our logbook, we should write down the date and time when we disinfect the machine. With the tools, after every client, we don't need to write that. But with the big equipments like pedicure chairs, we need to write down the day and time that we disinfected. Once a week, we have to soak it for 6 to 10 hours or overnight with disinfectant or with bleach. Then those important information we need to write down. Or if a salon that use an autoclave to sterilize tools, they need to write down the date and time that they test it, they use it, or they maintain it. So sometimes these don't really apply to a lot of salon, but there are some stuff that does apply. Then what do we need to write down in the logbook? Or the information of disinfectant, test, use, maintenance, date, and time. For any chemical you use in the salon, always have to have an MSDS. When you mix disinfectant, always wear gloves and safety glasses when mixing to prevent splashing. You always add disinfectant to a bowl of water, not adding water to a bowl of disinfectant to prevent foaming. And water you use has to be room temperature or cool. Don't use hot water, because sometimes hot water will affect the potent of bleach or disinfectant. So only use cool or room temperature. Change disinfectant every day, or even if it's not 24 hours yet, but the solution is soil or contaminate, then you have to change it right away. Everything in a salon should be covered but not airtight, because airtight will promote bacterial growth. You remove tools and implements from the disinfectant solution using tongs, tweezers, draining basket, or gloves. Tweezer is a multi-tool type of implements. It can use to pick up like bits, small bits from disinfectant solution, or it can use to pick up nail art or rhinestone. So a lot of questions on the board exam are common sense. They are not hard. If you do the homework and read over the notes once, then you should be fine. It's not very hard, I promise. Disinfectants that are not appropriate for salon use are fumigants, glutaraldehyde, and phenolic. Page 6. Sterilization is the highest level of decontamination using the machine called autoclave. It is a process that destroys 100% of all microbial life, including spores. Sterilization are not necessary for tools in a nail salon, at least. It is only necessary for surgical instruments that cut deep into the vascular layers of the body. So accidental cut, like when we do pedicure, manicures, or run-in drills, they consider that cut is not deep enough. So we don't need to worry about spores. Spore will be still on our tools. We cut someone bleed, that is okay. So implements are divided into two types, two categories: single-use implements or reusable or multi-use implements. Single-use implements are disposable items or has to be discarded right after use on one client. If the process, so to define which item is single-use, if that item can absorb water, if item that has pores, then it only use once. Or if you're not sure, but if you clean it and put in the disinfectant solution, and after you dry them, if its shape got changed, then it's a single-use item. Okay, so right here say if process of cleaning and disinfecting damage an item or change its condition, shape, or form, then you know that it's a single-use item. Example of single-use item are wooden stick, wooden pusher, pumice stone, cotton ball, sponges, tissue, paper towels, nail files, and buffers. There are mostly items that has pores are single use. There are items, for example, buffers and files. They have pores, but the pore is too small for our eyes to see. However, if you put in water and it can soak water, that means it has pores, so it is single use. So multi-use or multiple use or reusable items, that means it can be cleaned and disinfected. Then you can use on another client, even if it is exposed to blood. So if you cut someone bleed, the nippers or clipper, you don't have to throw them away as long as you clean and disinfect them. So even if you don't cut someone bleed, but you always need to clean and disinfect after you use it. So you cut someone bleed or you don't cut someone bleed, you still clean and disinfect like usual. Item that are multiple use usually has a hard non-porous surface. Usually it's made of metals. Nippers, shears, pushers, some nail files, and buffer that make up glasses or metals, then it can be reused. Porous item or single use, except towels and chamois. It can be laundered and used again. So mostly only towels can be reused, even if towels are items that can absorb water, but it say that we can launder and use again. If a porous item contact broken skin, blood, body fluid, or unhealthy condition, it must be discarded immediately. If you are not sure whether an item can be cleaned or disinfected, then throw it out. State Board don't really care about cost effective. They just want us to throw out, like use everything single use, and the process sometimes takes very long. So I would suggest if you work at this, when you go to work, you should have like many set of tools, so that way you don't have to worry about cleaning and disinfect in between the clients. If you get busy, you can just get another set of tools out and then clean and disinfect at the end. That way it will save you time. Otherwise, after each client, you have to clean and disinfect, and when you do that, it takes out a lot of time. With tool and implements, you have to clean and disinfect towel, clean and linens. You launder in 140 Fahrenheit at least for 15 minutes. Your work surface, you have to spray, clean, and disinfect after each client. For foot spa, you clean and disinfect after each client, but for each week, once a week, you have to soak the basin with disinfectant 6 to 8 hours or overnight, because we don't usually sit there and wait for that long. Anything that is exposed to blood must be double bagged and marked biohazard and throw away. So any single use only. Any single use item that is exposed to blood, you double bag and you throw away. For multiple multi-use implements like nippers and clipper, if it's exposed to blood, you don't double bag it. When you double bag, that means you throw away. You clean and disinfect it just like you usually do. So any single-use item that touch blood, you don't throw it straight into the trash can. You have to double bag it first, write on there biohazard, or put a biohazard sticker on, then dispose it in the trash can. That is OSHA standards. Okay, talking about sanitizer. Waterless hand sanitizer example is an antiseptic. It's a chemical that formulated for use on skin. It cannot clean the hands of dirt or debris. So if your hands are visibly dirty, then you cannot use antiseptic, because with antiseptic you don't use water to rinse. If you like to use sanitizer and wash your hands both, then you use sanitizer only after clean your hands. Don't ever use sanitizer or antiseptic to disinfect instrument or surfaces. Universal precautions are also called standard precaution. It is a guidelines that published by OSHA. Is a guideline that published by OSHA or CDC, because OSHA is an agency under CDC. So if asked who write the universal precaution, CDC or OSHA. What is in the universal precaution is a guidelines that help keep you safe and healthy. So in there it say that assume that all human blood and body fluid are infectious, because when you look at someone you don't know if their blood are infected of anything. So you just assume everybody is, so that you always take you always be careful on any clients. People can be infected already, but they don't show the signs yet, because it doesn't they don't have the let's say you contract HIV, but you don't show the signs yet until years later. So people can be infected but can be asymptomatic because they don't show signs or symptoms of infection. OSHA is an administration that sets safety standards and precautions to protect employees, including when it has guidelines on how you should take care of a blood spill, how you should take care of bloodborne pathogen. So some of the basic precautions are wash your hands, wearing gloves, know how to proper handling and dispose of sharp instruments. PPE stand for personal protection equipment. It includes eyewear like goggles, masks, gloves. Page 7. An exposure incident is a blood spill incident. Exposure incident defined as when there's blood involved or body fluid involved. So when you accidentally cut someone bleed, first step is to stop the service and inform the client. Stop the service and let the client know that you accidentally cut them bleed. Make sure that you get gloves to wear if you haven't wear gloves for that service. You only need to wear, but you wear gloves. You don't need to give gloves to the client because that is their blood. They don't need to be afraid of their blood. So you stop the service, let the client know that you accidentally cut them bleed, wear gloves, clean the injured area with antiseptic, put the bandage on, and after you put the bandage on, you still wear gloves. You continue to work on that service, not like you stop the service and send the client home. You don't do that. You put on the bandage, you continue to work on the client wearing gloves, and then after you're done, you clean your workstation with disinfectant like you usually do. So whether you cut someone bleed or not, you always disinfect your station and your tools. Discard all contaminated objects. Anything that is single use, when it touch blood, you put it in double bag. So with regular single-use item, you just dispose them straight in the trash can. But when it involves blood spill, then all single-use item go into double bag. Biohazard sticker on, and then you can dispose in the trash can. For sharp instrument like nippers, clippers, you cut someone bleed, you don't need to dispose them. You just clean and disinfect like you usually do. However, if you want to dispose them, or for esthetician who want to dispose the lancet, they don't want to clean and disinfect those little tools, then they have to have a sharp box. so that when someone clean that trash, they don't accidentally jam themselves. That's why you need a sharp box for sharp tools. You don't have to dispose the sharp tools, but if you dispose, then you need to dispose sharp tools in the sharp box. Before remove your gloves, all tools need to be cleaned and disinfected in tuberculocidal disinfectant if you can. But this is the old book. With the new guidelines recently, they say you don't have to disinfect in tuberculocidal. Hospital disinfectant is still appropriate. So any disinfectant is okay. Actually, you don't need a higher level. Or you can use bleach to disinfect tools. You just need to mix it 1:9 ratio, or mix it according to manufacturer instruction. When you soak the tools, always at least 10 minutes. You can soak longer, but you don't want to do that, because the longer you let it sit in the liquid, it will dull the tools. After you disinfect tools, you remove the gloves. You also dispose that gloves in the double bag because it's related to the blood spill. Let the remind client to see doctor if there are any sign of redness, swelling, pain, or irritation. So if you clean and disinfect your tools right, and client still develop infection, that is not your responsibility anymore, because if your tools are clean but they don't take care of their cuts, it can still be infected unless they can prove that you don't clean and disinfect your tools. These are just some of the example of the question on the test. Oh, I forgot to say this. When you wash your hands, when you rub your hands with soap, you need to rub for at least 20 seconds or until the lather forms. Because if the lather doesn't form, it cannot take away the germs. The foamness or the lather is the thing that help rub away the germs or remove the germs. So most of us theoretically don't wash our hands right. The process in the order is clean the surface, rinse off the soap, dry it before you put in the disinfectant, because if you don't dry it, then you will mess up the ratio of the disinfectant. Then if you add like 10 set of tools in there, there will be too much water when all the tools are wet. After you disinfect, after 10 minutes, you rinse it, dry, and put away. You don't want to let it sit out and dry, because if you do it like that, it will also dull the blade. It takes like 30 minutes for it to dry, then your tools are wet for 30 minutes. So those are just some of the example question. You can go over that. Anything on state board, all bottles has to be closed and covered. Towels has to put in containers, or if not put in container, it has to put in cabinets that has doors, so everything has to be closed and labeled. Close, cover, label, or write on there, mark on there. Nail professional are prohibited from cutting or puncture the living skin, and from remove calluses skin with a razor blade. We can smooth callus, but we cannot remove them completely. When you remove them completely, you likely already go in too much. Biofilms. Probably they don't really go over that. Okay, so these are just reviewing. You can read over that. Dispensary is a place where you keep the equipment and products. Dispensaries should be kept clean and orderly. Contents and product should be clearly marked. So for Gel, there are two types of gel: soft gel, hard gel. Soft gel is gel polish, and hard gel is like, I call it gel acrylic. This is soft gel. Hard gel. So when you buy hard gel, it come in a thick consistencies. It comes in a jar. You don't have to mix it where you do it with acrylic powder and liquid. With hard gel, it already mixed for you. It's a different type of product. You applied it on, but with gel, you have to cure under a special light called UV or LED light for it to harden. Where acrylic, it just dry up. It doesn't have to cure under the light. So, but for both soft gel and hard gel, they both have to cure under a special light. There is acrylic. It come in separate powder and liquid, and you mix it as you do it. Where with gel, you don't have to mix anything. It already mixed. It's a different product. Different type of acrylic consistency. Dry, too wet. There is a right amount. There is a form. A form is it helps to with extension, make the nail longer without having to use the tips. Technician don't prefer doing the form. Putting on tips is a lot easier. Monomer is 1. In chemistry, monomer is 1 unit. Oligomer is a few monomer already connected, and polymer is millions, trillions of monomer already connected. Vapor, gas. When you burn something, you have gas. When liquid evaporate, you have vapors. Bond is in the book is called dehydrator. In the salon, they like to refer it as bond. Dehydrator or bond helps with removing moisture and natural oil from the nails. So you put it on before you put any product on the nails. Primer is needed for acrylic application. Without primer, acrylic won't stick on well. Soft gel is gel polish. So with any service, before you put anything on the nails, you want to prep the nails. Remove the natural shine, the oiliness of the nails. With Gelish is a brand of gel. There are Gynaglaze, Gelish, OPI, IBD, or shellac. Shellac is a popular term. Shellac is one of the very first brand that coming out in gel polish. So a lot of technicians use the word shellac. That's how the client learn. So when people ask about shellac, they mean gel polish. To remove gel polish, you want to file the nails as much as possible. I mean, file the coats of it as much as possible without file into the real nails. So that way it will make the process faster. And this is hard gel, where you apply it similar to acrylic, but with each thin coat it has to cure under the light. One thick coat will not do it because the light cannot cure evenly. Nail technician don't like or many I don't think many Asian salon does hard gel for many reasons. One is the product is more expensive. Second, it takes too long to apply, and third, when the client want the product off, they cannot soak it off. In theory, you have to drill it off. So when you have to drill a thick product like that off, it will easily burn the nails. When you run the drill too long, it makes the it heat it up faster. So many technician doesn't like to do hard gel. And with each coat like that, it has to cure under the light. So nail wrap is a service where they use a piece of fabric, either in silk, fiberglass, or linen, to hold many coats of glue. Glue is the material like similar to the glue that they use to glue on the nail tips. They use many coats of glue, but we know that glue, when it touch water, it doesn't last very long. So that's why we don't see this service much anymore in any salon. One is not as strong as acrylic. Second is it comes up or breaks easily, it doesn't last long, and it takes too long to do too. So we only learn this for testing. Then you have to cut the piece of fabric that kind of match the nail shape, and then use that fabric to hold on to many coats of glue. So that is glue. Activator is to make the glue dry quicker. After like 3 or 4 coats of glue, they will start shaping the nails. Put it on acrylic. So they remove the shine, put it on the tips. So nail chemistry. It's incorrect to think all chemicals are dangerous or toxic because most of everything around us are chemical except electricity or light. Chemical, the basic units are, a lot of them are the same, but they arrange it differently so it gives different products. For example, oil, petroleum oil, and vitamin C, the basic units are the same, but they arrange it differently. That's why it give out different products. If you let it go through a process where it can bend the or it can rearrange the combination, then it can turn from oil to vitamin C. For example, a petroleum oil are arranged in a square shape, and vitamin C with that same basic units, but it arranged in a triangle shape. Or acetone and water are made of the same units, but one is arranged in a hexagon shape and one arranged in a triangle shape. If you put it through a process where it can bend back the arrangement, then paper can turn into sugar or vice versa. Vapors form when liquids evaporate into the air. Any substance that is liquid at room temperature, so that temperature that room doesn't has heat, or it doesn't turn on air conditioner, then anything that liquid at room temperature can evaporate or dry over time. Most chemicals that we use in nails can evaporate. For example, alcohol, acetone, pulp liquid gel, glues or resins, it can dry over time. Vapors will turn back into liquids if it cool again. So that is why water on Earth doesn't deplete it, because water from liquid form evaporates into the air, and when the cold air meet, those liquid will condense and run back to the Earth. So it just changed from one like from liquid form to vapors, or from liquid to ice. It just changed to different form. Gases or fumes are created when you burn something, for example, burning candles, incense, cigarettes, or gasoline. Then that creates a gas. Gas is a mixture of soot-like particle and vapors. Adhesion are forces that make surfaces stick together. Oil, waxes, soil will contaminate a surface and block adhesion. That's why you want to prep the nails to be clean and dry, so anything that you put on the nails will stay on better. Adhesive or glue or resins is chemical that cause surfaces to stick together. Primer is a substance that improves adhesion, especially is needed for acrylic. Before you put on acrylic, you have to put on primer. Without primer, acrylic when you put it on, it will stay on, but after a few days, it will pop off. Primer has 3 different versions: acid-base primer, non-acid, or acid-free primer. In the book, it says non-acid or acid-free work just as well as acid type of primer, but in many nail salons, they prefer acid-based primer because they think that that works better. To be honest, I don't know which, but the book claimed that non-acid or acid-free primer work just as well. Acid-based primer can be corrosive. It can cause painful burns or scars. Sometimes when you put on primer, client will complain of burning sensation. It's because when you do the drilling, it creates tiny scratch, and when you put on primer, it seeps to those cracks and cause the burning sensation, especially when you use acid type of primer. Use primer sparingly. That means you don't apply it on like you put it on polish. You just dotting a few, and then it will spread throughout the nails. Dehydrator is a type of chemical that help remove the natural moisture and oil from the natural nails. It doesn't remove it completely. It just remove it temporarily, so that if you put on anything, it will stay on better. After 30 minutes, the natural water and oil of the nails will return. Adhesion is best when nail plate is clean and dry. Abrasive are divided into coarse, medium, or fine. When we say abrasive, we would think of file or buffers. They usually categorize it according to the number of grits. The higher the number, the finer the abrasive. The lower the number, the coarser the abrasive. Imagine there are 10 grits to fit on this piece of paper. Those grits has to be big. So, and Or imagine there are hundreds of grids has to fit on this paper. Those grids has to be small. So the smaller the grids, the higher the number, the finer the abrasive. The bigger the grids, the lower the number, the coarser the abrasives. There are two types of reaction: chemical reaction and physical reaction. Like regular nail polish are hardened through evaporation. That is called physical reaction. Acrylic, they cure or hardening through a chemical reaction. Or like gel that you put under the UV or LED light, they dry or harden through a chemical reaction, because the chemical in itself react with the light, or the pulp liquid and the powder has something in it that when it touch, it will go through a chemical reaction to dry up. Okay, so liquid, powder, and gel are made of the units are the same. They made up of monomer, but the way they connect are different. That's why it give out different products. Like the pulp liquid, they are made of monomer that are not connected together. There are hundreds of monomer, but they are not connected. And then powder are made of or gel are made of a few monomers already connected. Powder are made of hundreds and trillions of or millions of monomers that are already connected. Liquid, the terminology is called monomer. Powder terminology called polymer, and gel are also called oligomer. Polymers are millions of molecules or monomers that has joined together to create an extremely long chain. Polymers are created through polymerization. Products in our nail industry can use the word cure or hardening or dry. They all have the same meaning. Molecules and monomers are the same. Individual molecules joined together to make polymer are called monomer. If we remember back when they put for nail wrap, when they put on the glue and they spray, they use the bottle to spray. That spray bottle is activator. That chemical help dry up the glue faster. In many other product like powder and liquid, they also have activator, but that the name called differently. In powder, the activator called initiator. In monomer or pulp liquid, it called catalyst. So initiator and catalyst, when they touch, they go through they help speed up the chemical process, or they speed up the hardening process of the acrylic faster. Gel are also called oligomer. They define as short chain of monomers already connected. Acrylics is when we talk about acrylic, we think of powder and liquid, but it is actually a big chemical family where it helps create liquid, powder, gel, and glue. So acrylics create methacrylate, acrylate, cyanocrylate. Methacrylate create liquid and powder. Acrylics create gel product, and cyanocrylate creates glue or resin. There are many different types of monomer, odorless monomer or other monomer, but MMA or methyl-acrylic monomers are not to be used in the cosmetology industry. Nail polishes, top coats, base coats, regular base tops, nail polish work by evaporation. They cure by evaporation of physical reaction, not chemical reaction. Okay, so acrylics is the general term that most of us, when we say acrylic, we think of monomer liquid and polymer powder. So liquid in the terminology in chemistry, it called monomer. Powder, polymer. Powder and liquid or polymer and monomer are from a family of acrylic named methacrylate, and methacrylate is under the bigger family chemistry of acrylic. Okay, acrylic actually create many products like contact lens, many different things, things to mend broken bone. We also, in our industry, we use it to put on nail enhancement. So polymer liquid and monomer liquid and polymer powder belong to methacrylic chemical family. There are 4 different ways to apply. You can apply on the natural nails of the client when they have the length already, but their nails are thin, so they just want a protective overlay of the acrylic so that their natural nails don't break easily. If they want a length, you can put on the nail tip, and then you put acrylic over the natural nail and the nail tips. You can use a foam to create a nail extension. Instead of using the tip, you can use the foam. However, you don't see this a lot anymore because it's more cumbersome. Putting tip on is a lot easier. It gives you the shape easily. On the foam, when you do acrylic, you have to create your own shape, which is harder. So people are not preferring to use the foam. That's why we don't see it as often anymore. When you use the foam and put it on acrylic, there's another name, they call it sculpture nail, but it's just another name for acrylic nails because they're using acrylic on the foam. Or they can use acrylic to create like a nail art, a flower, a 3D flower. That is another way of using acrylic. So there are 4 basic ways actually. A natural hairbrush is best to use for putting on acrylic. Different shape can be used depend on the preference of a person and depend on who you learn it from. Some people like to use brush that are more pointed, or others prefer more of a round shape or oval shape. There are 3 different kind of liquids. There are EMA liquid, MMA, and odorless. The industry standard is EMA and odorless. They don't recommend or they ban or prohibit the use of MMA liquid. There are many reasons to it. It is mainly for other things. Some people think that MMA in the long run of using it will cause cancer. That is just a myth, a misunderstanding. MMA actually, one of the reasons it can create a very strong product, so that if your nails get hit, then the acrylic itself don't broke, then all the force will transfer down to your nail bed and it causes damage that way. So that is one of the reasons why MMA is not recommended or even banned in the salon industry or the beauty industry. So ethyl methacrylate is a type of is a version of monomer. Odorless is also another version. I don't understand why they say odorless when it actually has a lot of odor. The odor is actually even stronger than some of the regular the other liquid version. So that one kind of confused me a little bit. Polymerization is a chain of reaction where polymer is made. So monomer, let's look at this picture here. Okay, so this is the foam that you put on instead of putting on the nail tip to create an extension, but it's not popular. Putting on the tip is a lot easier. Okay, so monomer and polymer, the basic building blocks are similar. They are, monomer is one unit, polymer is many units has been combined. So liquid and powder in the basic elements are the same, but when in the liquid there are trillions of monomer, but they are unconnected. In powder, to have one thin to have that fine powder, it is created by combining many monomers into a very long chain, and this reaction that to create polymer, it called polymerization, a chain of reaction. And then oligomer is gel, but we're gonna learn about gel later. Monomer liquid, polymer powder, oligomer is gel. Okay, so liquid, there are three versions: EMA, MMA, and odorless. MMA is prohibited. Polymerization is a special chemical reaction where polymer powder is made. There are trillions of monomers linked together to create a tiny round beads of powder. There are additives that I add in powder and liquid to control the curing time or to speed up the drying process. In liquid, they put in the additive called catalyst that help control the set or curing time or help speed up. When catalyst activate with initiator, which is an additive that you found in powder. So catalyst activate with initiator together, they speed up the hardening process of that acrylic. The initiator in powder, there's another name, benzoyl peroxide, BPO. You also will find BPO in acne treatments, but there's much less BPO in nail powder than in acne treatment. In acne treatment, BPO what it does is it speed up the acne. It help push that acne to surface, dry out, and fall out. So that's why there are some nail technicians who works a lot with nail powder have a tendency to have more acne because of the BPO in the nail powder. However, it's less in nail powder than in acne treatments. Here they say in the book, monomer and polymer require special additives called catalyst. So catalyst find in monomer, and then initiator is in powder. Catalyst help control the setup or the hardening. The catalyst energize and activate the initiator. Initiator that used in powder are BPO. So both BPO or initiator and catalyst help start the chain of reaction to create the acrylic. Okay, some of the supplies that we need. Okay, let's go back a little bit. Initiator you find in powder. Liquid you find in catalyst. Activator is also an additive that speed up the drying of glue, and it doesn't belong to this this chapter, but when you learn about nail wrap or you learn about dipping, activator is an additive to speed up the drying process of glue or of the dipping product. Okay, monomer liquid mix ratio is the amount of liquid to the amount of powder. So more liquid is you will create a wetter consistency. More powder, drier consistency. So it depends. With experience, you will get a feel of how much liquid or how much powder you should pick up if you want it to be more runny or to be more set or drier. And it depends too. Okay, powder can be available in many different colors. Nail dehydrator is in the nail salon. They usually refer nail dehydrator as a bond. Dehydrated is kind of hard for them to say, so they like to say the word bond more. Dehydrator, the purpose of this chemical is to remove moisture and oil on your natural nails. But they only remove it temporarily, not permanently. They remove it about 30 minutes. And then after that, the oil, the natural oil and water in your nails will return. But during that 30 minutes, it gives you enough time to put on whatever you need to. So dehydrator you use almost for all service. Before you polish, you put on bond or dehydrator. Before you dip, you put you put on number one, that is the dehydrator. Before you put on acrylic, you put on dehydrator and primer. Before you polish gel, you put on dehydrator too. Some places don't use dehydrator, but some places do. Okay. Nail primer are available in many different. There are 3 forms of primer. There are acid-based nail primer, acid-free nail primer, and non-acid primer. Acid-free and non-acid primers were developed most often used today. That's what they say in the book, but I know that in a lot of Vietnamese, Asian nail salon, they still use a lot of acid-based nail primer. They say that it helps attach the acrylic on the nails better. Acid-based primer are the strongest in terms of chemical wise, which means it can be more corrosive and it can burn the skin and the eyes if it accidentally touch. So that's why it's not popular to be used according to the book, because it's too dangerous. But we only use a little bit, so it's nowhere near like what it say right here. It say that acid-free and non-acid primer were most often used today. It works just as well as any other, just as well or even better. That I don't know. In the Vietnamese salon, still people use a lot of acid-based primer. Nail primer is a substance that helps improve adhesion or the bonding of acrylic on the nails. Abrasives refer to file and buffers. There are different level of abrasiveness: medium, coarse, or fine, or they divide it according to the number. Usually from 180 to 240 is medium. Anything less than 180 is a coarse, more coarse, and anything more than 240 is more fine. The higher the number, the finer the abrasive. The lesser, the smaller the number, the coarser the abrasive. So if the question asks what level or what abrasive should we use for this or should we use for that, most of the time medium grit is the best answer. Medium grit, you use it to file the natural nails, you use it to shaping acrylic, you use it to use abrasive, the medium abrasive to use to run or to drill acrylic, and then at the end you use a fine buffer for final buffing for polishing. Nail forms, we already show that. Use it instead in place of tips, but not popular anymore. We learn it because it's still in the book for testing. Nail form placed under free edge, used to extend for nail enhancement. It can be made of plastic, aluminum, paper, mylar. Paper and mylar are one-time use, disposable. Plastic and aluminum can be cleaned and disinfected and reused. Nail tips are the fake tips. It's preformed nail extension made of plastic, or ABS is another word for plastic. Tips are available in different shapes: coffin shapes, stiletto shapes, styles, colors. Dabbing dish is the small holder that you can use to hold liquid and powder. In the book, the standard is you pour out a little bit of liquid and powder, and so that way nothing is left after that, or you don't reuse or store that. you dispose if anything left after the service. It's more sanitary that way. They prefer of it more that way. So on the test, we always choose the best scenario, the best practice, the best cleanliness or sanitation. We don't worry too much about cost effective and efficient, time efficient. Okay. Nail brush is say best is composed of sable hair. That is from the old book. The new book is say natural hairbrush. So I don't know, question has been updated to have the new book or the old book, but from the previous version it say made of sable hair is the best. But on the first page it say natural hair. There are different kind of style, shape of brush depend on your preference. When you work with acrylic, best practice is to wear goggles, safety eyewear to prevent eyes of getting dust or particle. Wear a dust mask to prevent inhalation of fine particles. So with universal precaution or standard precaution is to wear gloves, masks, safety eyewear when working with acrylic. Gloves is part of PPE, personal protective equipment. Best material is nitrile because currently I don't think anybody is allergic to nitrile. That's why. But most nail salon or art school are using latex gloves. Unless anybody allergic to latex, then we don't wear latex. Otherwise, we wear latex gloves for a lot of stuff like doing pedicures. How should you store liquid and powder? You store in a covered containers, not only liquid or powders. With any products, you want it to be in a covered container so that dust don't fall in. Primers and liquid in separate bottles, keeping cool, dark area. Most chemical are keeping cool in dark area. We don't want it near heat or the sunlight because lots of chemical has a combustion property, so that's why in cool dark area. You don't want to store it near heat, and never safe use monomer liquid. The way to dispose is are there for two ways. You pour it into absorbent paper towel so that way it don't evaporate and cause the smell too much. You don't want to pour the liquid straight into the bag, and you don't want to pour the liquid straight down the sink. Never do that, guys. It will leave the plastic film behind when it evaporates, and over time it will clog up pipes. So please do not pour liquid down the sink. Pour it in the trash can. Pour it in absorbent paper towel and dispose in the trash can. Or if there are left powder remaining, you pour liquid, you mix liquid with powder together, then dispose. I don't know if anybody do that, but that's just the book. That's what the book suggests. One of the two ways, in absorbent paper towel or mix it with powder, the remaining powder, then dispose. Acrylic maintenance is the fill-in after 2 or 3 weeks. Depend on how fast the nails grow. Crack repair is filling in the area that has cracked or broken or lifted. Areas of concern. The apex of the arch is the center, located in the center of the nail. That is the highest point, or the curviness. The highest curvy point is where it defined as an apex or arch. This area of nail has all the strength. So when you put on acrylic, you want to put the thickest at the arch or the apex. With the thicker powder, the nail will be stronger. But if you create an evenly thick all around, then the nails look bulky. So you have to balance between the look and the lasting of the products. So you want it thick to have the strength, but thin around to look nicer rather than bulkier. That's why I say having strength in the apex allow base sidewall tip to be thin yet leave the nail strong enough to resist chip or breaking. If you create all thin, it may look nice, but then it's weak. Okay, so thin around the side tip and the cuticle only, and then thick at the center or the arch. Mixed ratio liquid and powder. On average, it's a 1 liquid, 1 powder will be a dry bead, and then 2 liquid and 1 powder will be 2 wet of the bead. The ideal is 1.5 liquid and 1 powder is the ideal. Nail anatomy. So this whole plate right here we call nail plate. This white part is also part of the nail plate, but to differentiate or to be more in details, it's called free edge. The reason that is white because it doesn't attach to the skin below anymore, where this one is not white because it attached to the nail bed. So underneath the nail plate is nail bed. Nail cells are formed from the root somewhere back here. Nail root is called matrix, but the skin cover already, so we couldn't see it. Part of the nail root or part of the matrix that we can see is this area right here, lanula. Lanula is the small part right here that look like a half moon, crescent moon. The white area, that's also where the nail cells form. So nail cells form at lanula and matrix. And lanula is part of matrix. Matrix is the nail root where nail cells form. Cuticle and aponicum. Cuticle is dead tissue and aponicum is live tissue. Usually when you look at your nails, it's really hard to see like this. Here we pick a picture that has the cuticle and aponicum easily to see, but on most nails, the cuticle layer is right below this aponicum, so it's really hard to tell for new technician or for new student. The cuticle is a very thin layer. It attach or adhere to the nail plate, stick to the nail plate really good. It's very thin, so it is really hard to trim them clean. For people, so for new technician, it's really hard for them to cut this clean, and if you cannot cut this clean, then when you polish you will see the lines and it will not look good, or the polish will chip easily later on. Aponicum is the living tissue or living skin near the base of the nail. There's the side wall, or nail fold is the skin fold around the nails, and then here it creates the lateral or the side wall. Okay, there's the nail picture on the side. There's the bone nail plate. Underneath the nail plate is the nail bed, which is the skin or the tissue underneath. Nail cells form from the matrix, which is the root of the nails. When you look above down, you cannot see it because skin already covered, but part of the matrix that you can see is the lanula area. Lanula is part of the matrix. If asked where blood vessels can be found, anywhere that we have living tissue like the nail bed or the matrix area will have a blood vessel. Wherever that has living tissue, there must be blood vessel to nourish. And also wherever there's living tissue, there is nerves. Nerves give you the feelings of pain, burning, sensation, heat, stuff like that. Hyponicum is the end of the tips here is the skin. Hyponychium purpose is to seal the edge so that foreign matters or microorganism doesn't come into the nail bed to infect. So the hyponychium, cuticle, and eponychium all have the similar purpose, is to seal, prevent stuff coming in to infect the tissue. But we have to trim the cuticle so that when we polish it looks good. When we trim the cuticle, that we still have this barrier right here to protect the nails or the skin. So don't trim too much. If you trim too much, then you're trimming both barriers. Just trim the cuticle only. Just making sure that the reason we trim cuticle so that the nail plate is smooth for us to polish. There is a picture of skin. Skin can be divided into many layers. Epidermis is the outside layer of skin. Below epidermis is still skin, but it named as dermis. Dermis is the inner layer of skin or the second layer of skin. And this one are the hair. And there is the hair follicle. Sebaceous gland is also called the oil gland. So the oil gland are connected with the hair follicle. Hence, wherever there are lots of hair, the oil accumulate quicker. Like on our scalp, we have hair, so each hair follicle are usually connected with an oil gland. That's why our hair get greasy fast. Nail anatomy. So the nails in medical terminology is called onyx. Nails are made up of keratin. Keratin is a type of fiber protein that can also found in skin and hair, except the protein of the keratin in nails are harder. Nail is a hard protective plate. It's an appendage of skin and part of the outside, the integumentary system, which is the outside that covering the inside. Nail anatomy, the nails purpose is to protect the tips of fingers or toe. Normal healthy nail, the characteristics are firm but also flexible, because without flexibility it will break. Shiny due to the natural oil. Slightly pink because of the blood vessel below. Surface should be smooth, unspotted, no hollows or wavy, no ridges. Nail plate are relatively porous to water, which means it absorbs water easily. Compared to the equal thickness with skin, nails absorb water quicker than skin. The water content in nails are 15 to 25%. The water affects the flexibility. The more water in the nails, the more flexible your nails are. So that's why after shower or after you wash dishes, your nails are more flexible. Less water, nails are more rigid. It breaks more easily. And with less water, the nails tend to have vertical ridges. So if in elders, you will see more vertical ridges on the nails because elders don't retain water well. The whole natural nail units contain nail bed, matrix, which is the root of the nails, nail plate. Underneath the nail plate is the nail bed. Cuticle is dead tissue near the base of the nails. Eponychium is the live tissue. Hyponychium is also the live tissue near the end of the nails, near the tips. Ligament is to hold organs in place or bones connect the bones. Nail fold is the skin around the nails. Free edge is the tip of the nails. Lanula is part of the matrix, but you can see with your eyes, and it has the crescent moon shape. Nail plate are made of keratin. It sits on the nail bed. It's the most visible and functional. It has with our eyes we see one solid layer, but under the microscope, nail plate are actually composed of hundreds of layers of thin nail cells. Free edge is part of the nail plate that extends over the tip of the finger or toe. It doesn't attach to the skin anymore. That's why it looks whitish. Nail bed is the portion of the living skin that supports the nail plate. It has blood vessels and nerves. Nail bed attached to the nail plate by a thin layer of tissue called bed epithelium. Matrix is where the nail cells form. It also has nerves, lymph, and blood vessels. So, and anywhere there is living tissue, there are nerves and blood vessels, at least, to nourish the cells. Lanula is the visible part of matrix near the base. Also is where the nail cells form because it's part of the matrix. It's whitish, half moon shape. Everybody has lanula, but not all lanulas are visible. But if you push back the cuticle far enough, you will see the lanulas. Cuticle is dead tissue, dead or colorless tissue. Cuticle is the dead, colorless tissue. It's incredibly sticky and difficult to remove from the nail plate. Cuticle is under the eponychium, but above the natural nail plate, so it's a layer in between. Cuticle purpose is to help seal the space between the natural nail and the living skin above to prevent entry of foreign matter or materials. Eponychium is the living skin at the base of the nail plate covering the matrix area. It often confused with cuticle because these two layers are next to each other, and cuticle is underneath eponychium. Hyponychium is the living tissue that lies between the fingertip and free edge. Hyponychium underneath between the nail tip and the free edge. Right here is the eponychium, cuticle. Hyponychium is also a barrier to prevent microorganisms from invading and infecting the nail bed. Ligament is a tough band of fibrous tissue that connects the bones or hold an organ in place, or it helps attach the nail bed to the matrix bed to the underlying bone. Nail folds are the skin that folds around the nail plate. When there are folds like that, it creates the grooves or the slits or the furrows. Sidewall is also called the lateral nail fold. Growth of nails are affected by nutrition, exercise, and general health. Nails grow forward from the matrix. Shape of the nails depend on shape of the matrix. So the matrix will determine if your nails will be thick or thin, wide or curvy. So the longer the matrix, the thicker the nails will grow. So that is already predetermined as heredity. You cannot do anything to change to make the nails grow thicker or thinner. The thing that you can do is to add layers on top of your nails to make it thicker, but you cannot make the nails itself thicker. So the length of matrix affect the thickness. Width of matrix affect the width. The wider the matrix, the wider your nails will grow out. If your matrix have the curvature in it, your nails will be curvy. So in short, shape of the nails depend on shapes of the matrix. Longer matrix produce a thicker nail plate. Nails grow faster in summer than winter. Children nails grow faster in the elders. Growth rate of nails dramatically increased during last trimester of pregnancy due to hormonal changes, not prenatal vitamins like many people think. Toenail grow more slowly than fingernails. It grows thicker and harder because toenail matrix is longer than the matrix on the fingernails. Nail malformation. When the nails doesn't grow normal, it is maybe due to disease, injury, or infection that occurs in the matrix. When matrix is affected, the shape of or the thickness of the nail plate can change. Normally, it takes about half a year for the fingernails to grow from the matrix to the edge. For toenails, it takes about 12 months to replace. So half a year and a year. So let's say someone got a bruise on their fingernails near the base and ask, oh, how long this will grow out, and you would approximately say, oh, from 4 to 6 months, then that bruise should be gone. Epidermis is the outermost layer of skin. It's also the thinnest layer of skin. So epidermis. But with even this thin part, it divides further into 5 layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of hard to remember the name, so you just kind of, the trick to remember is they all start with the word stratum. So if asked which one of this layer belong to epidermis, just find the word that has the word stratum in it. Dermis is the underlying or the inner or the second layer of skin. Skin cancer can be caused by many reasons. One of it is too much sunlight. But sunlight is not the only reason that can cause skin cancer. It is just one of the reasons. Malignant melanoma is a very dangerous type of skin cancer. What causes it? Don't know. We don't need to know. Skin is the largest organ outside the body, and liver is the largest organ inside the body. Sweat glands are also called pseudoferous gland. Oil glands are also called sebaceous gland. Sweat gland, the purpose is to secrete sweat from skin. That is the type of waste. Sweat gland, when it secretes sweat, it is the function is to regulate the body temperature. When, for example, when you exercise, when you run, and your body feel hot, it will secrete sweat to lower the body temperature. So usually when your temperature spike very high, after that your body temperature will cool down. Oil glands connected to hair follicle. Oil gland. So wherever there are lots of hair, there will be the oil will accumulate faster. Oil glands is to secrete sebum, fatty or oily. Oil glands, you don't find it on palms or soles. Sweat glands, you usually find it on palms, soles, forehead, armpit.